YouTube? This is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got your Week 8 start and sit videos for the wide receiver position. Again, everything we're going to talk about is always going to be full PPR or half PPR. If it is a standard league, always hit us up in the comments down below. We'll be able to answer any of those questions for your lineup. Now, there again, two teams on a bye. You've got the Chiefs and the Chargers, so obviously you're losing Mike Williams, who was already injured, Keenan Allen, who was already injured, so not a whole lot this week for you guys this week. Now, these are your obvious wide receivers you should be starting this week. Again, whether it be matchup proof, whether it be a matchup that's perfect for them, I like these particular receivers that should be starting for you guys no matter the situation, of course, unless something crazy happens. Now, the first receiver I believe is going to be a great start for you guys is going to be DJ Moore. Now, I have not mentioned him really at all this season, and I'm excited to actually do that. I'm excited for this one. He's going against the Falcons. Moore has been in a tough offense, has not shown up very well this season. I had a pretty high ranked. And I think a lot of people did going into this season. I think a lot of expectations with Baker Mayfield was a big letdown for everybody. But he did finish with 19 points last week. He has a great matchup with Atlanta, being the worst against stopping the wide receivers and giving up 46.5 points and over 200 receiving yards, plus a touchdown per game. PJ Walker looks pretty good. He looks fired up. He's doing a really good job. Moore still seeing about an average of 7 targets a game. So again, I expect at least 7 to 8 targets, if not more. Maybe nice little red zone action and a touchdown. So I like him a lot this week for you guys. Another receiver I like this week is going to be Devonta Smith versus the Steelers. Look, A.J. Brown is an obvious start. We all know that. Even though he may not be performing as well as we hoped he would, like he did earlier in the season, but I like him as an obvious start. I also love Devonta Smith this week. Steelers allow 42.8 points combined and over 200 receiving yards to wide receivers. Plus, they also allow a touchdown per game as well. Smith has been averaging 16 fantasy points in the last 2 games, and I think that's only going to continue even after the bye week. So I like this matchup for him. Now, the last receiver I'm going to mention is Amon-Ra St. Brown versus the Dolphins. Dolphins allow 36.9 points and 168 receiving yards. They also allow a receiving touchdown per game as well, just like the Steelers and Falcons do. Amon-Ra has dealt with a lot of injuries, unfortunately, this season. He's kind of getting that injury bug. He is expected back this week. I know a lot of people started him last week, and I was one of them. I have him in a lot of my leagues. And, you know, probably like me, most of you guys may have lost that game, or it was really close. He's got a really good matchup this week against the Dolphins, who also just lost Byron Jones, their safety, in the secondary as well. So, again, expect this to be a shootout between, Miami and Detroit. I like Amon-Ra as a start. I know a lot of people may feel uncomfortable just because of all the injuries. He should be a good one. Now, first guy I'm going to sit this week is going to be Terry McLaurin against the Colts. Colts actually are the best against wide receivers. They're only allowing 23.5 points and only 106 yards combined. Last time a wide receiver had any great performance against them was week 2, and that was with Christian Kirk, who had 22 points, who everybody thought was going to be phenomenal this season. Has kind of fallen off. Kenny Moore at cornerback has done a phenomenal job against the wide receiver 1, which obviously is Terry McLaurin in this matchup. So it makes me a little bit nervous. Now, I will say, side note, I love that Taylor Heinicke is back. I think Taylor Heinicke is only going to increase the value of Terry McLaurin for the rest of the season. So I do expect some high volume games coming up soon. And he might have some great targets this week, but I just don't like this matchup with him and Kenny Moore on the opposite side. Another receiver, like I mentioned earlier, Christian Kirk, he's going to be another guy I'm not playing this week. I don't like his matchup against the Broncos. Broncos have a great defense, holding wide receivers to only 24.4 points. They have not allowed a touchdown to a receiver in a long time. Patrick Surtain is one of the best cornerbacks in this game. Kirk had a great start at the beginning of the season, but he's been struggling a lot lately. He had a good week last week because he saw a lot of targets his way, and that's realistically the only way I think Christian Kirk would have any type of relevance in this game is that he's going to see 10 to 12 targets. I don't know if that's going to be quite what you're going to see on Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. Again, London game. So I just don't feel it's going to happen. I have some high hopes for Christian Kirk. I think in the dynasty world, I think he's going to be worth something a little bit more. But in redraft, his value is just absolutely tanking right now. And I don't feel comfortable with him this week. Another receiver I'm sitting this week is Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett has had a really good season so far with Geno Smith at quarterback. Going against the Giants, who actually they're a pretty tough matchup. And, Giants aren't the best defense, but they're right there holding receivers down to only 25.8 points. Only have allowed 3 touchdowns in the season in general. Just 3 touchdowns to receivers. Plus, losing his side mate in DK Metcalf is going to only hurt Tyler Lockett's. All the coverage is going to be move to his side. They're going to focus on him. So as far as a good start, I'm not putting Tyler Lockett in there. Now, sleepers, first guy I have is going to be Brandon Cooks as a good sleeper going against the Titans, who allow 43.5 points and over 200 receiving yards, plus a touchdown in average per game. Cooks hasn't performed the way most expected this past weekend. He only had 8 fantasy points, but I like the matchup in this one. They're going to probably be behind. I think with the way the defense has performed for the Titans, they've got a little bit better. I will say that they have improved week over week, but I still think this is the one that I think Brandon Cooks is going to get a good amount of targets. That's going to help overcome that, and I think have a good one for you guys. Last guy I have as a good sleeper is going to be Chris Olave versus the Raiders. Now, I'm not crazy about hearing Andy Dalton getting the start again and possibly for the rest of the season. I have my own complaints about that. I don't think Andy Dalton's the answer for obviously the Saints, and I think I understand why they're doing it, because they want to obviously have that secure blanket of possibly no turnovers or very limited turnovers, where obviously Jameis Winston's a little more careless, a little more of a gunslinger. But I will say this, I still love the matchup for Chris Olave. Raiders allow 35.9 points and 167 yards, plus they do allow a touchdown per game to a receiver in their secondary is very mid. It's not performing very well. Olave being one of the few weapons that is left, unfortunately for the Saints. You obviously still have Kamara, but right now, Michael Thomas has been dealing with injury. Jarvis Landry, injury. They don't have a great tight end. So realistically, it's Olave and Kamara. So in this matchup, just because of just the defensive performance of the Raiders, I like Chris Olave as a really good sleeper. You're probably putting him as a starter anyways, but I like him as a good sleeper. So those are my start, sits, and sleepers for the wide receiver week 8. Hopefully this video, again, has helped you guys kind of put a little bit more effort into who you should be playing, some reasoning behind who you should be sitting as well. If you guys do have questions who should start and sit, of course, hit us some in the comments down below. If you guys have any other questions, whether it be trades or even waivers, maybe some players that have been dropped, always hit us in the comments as well. If you guys haven't already, check out our running back and quarterback start and sit videos for you guys. That way you guys are prepared for anything that's coming up this week. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and that notification bell is on. That way you guys are notified every time we drop a video just like this. Of course, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit the like button. It is greatly appreciated. Again, check out our other start sit videos. Make sure you hit the subscribe, like button, and I'll check you guys out next time.